She has a virtual museum, Mia Anywhere, and she organizes unique, high-profile events around the art. She has a part of the different juries of, example, Women Leaders of Spain and the International Congress in Santander. So, thank you for being here. And we have Dr. Urbani from Venice. He's a pedagogue, but he loves more to be in art. So he's a writer, curator, and a friend of Turkish community. So I give you the floor, please.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. I'm glad to see an audience made mostly by women. It's obvious, and in a way I have to excuse myself for being a man because I never did this before in my life, to excuse myself for that. But because now there is very much speculation about female art made by women, feminine art, feminist art. All these concepts are not very well bound, and also they can be intertwined. Nothing wrong with that. We don't need to be clear-cut all the time. Sometimes we have to admit that confusion, complexity, difference make much more in the final addition. Being an Italian, my education is, not my education, my raising through antique art. My parents were mathematicians and physicians, and they were not at all interested in art, but they thought it was good for the children to attend museums, which I loved madly from the beginning. My sister was very poor, but I liked that. And so for us, speaking of art, is a perpetual confrontation with antique art. So, being in the field of women and art, I wouldn't say women artists, women and art more in general, I start my presentation from that. She was Caterina Sagredo, a Venetian aristocrat, in a portrait in her better years by Rosalba Carrier. Probably many of you know his name, her name. Rosalba Carriera was living in the golden era of European Rococo period in the 18th century. And she became internationally famous. Internationally meant at the time in Europe, of course. Famous for being a very fine portrait painter. She used and perfected the technique of pastels. Pastels are very delicate. If you touch them, you destroy them, and the work cannot be corrected. So clever artists prefer the oil painting because you can remake it 1,000 times. Pastel don't allow. You must have a strong and secure hand. So what I want to discuss with you is that Rosalba became rich and eventually very famous, called by the court of France, the court of Prussia, and the English kingdom, and so on. Because, as you see, this painting show perfection. The beauty of women, which were their favorite and best subjects, shines, but is something made up, something unnatural. I mean, the skin of this lady is made of mother of pearl, not of flesh. Perfection is the only possibility. I said perfection is the only possibility. I like also to show this unknown person, but the painting is called Woman in Turkish Attire. You know that in the 18th century in Europe, Turkey was fashionable. I mean, Ottoman clothes, porcelain, whatever. So this is a link also to where we are. But what is this? This really ugly painting is a self-portrait that Rosalba Carriera made when becoming old. And the title of this painting, which is in the Galleria dell'Accademia in Venice, is Self-Portrait as Tragedy. So, you know, with a crown of laurel, you can be poetry, can be a winner in war. Many allegories use laurel crowns. She said, I am the portrait of tragedy. And what I wanted to tell you, you see, this is not a nice portrait. It is real. She is tired. She is very self-conscious. But you see the mouth shows unhappiness. Maybe something was not, her wishes were not fulfilled properly. So, I leave Rosalba Carriera now for our talk, but what I want to say is a good artist fight for freedom or her career or her personal life. And Rosalba Carriera, with this self-portrait, tells us that a good artist, a woman artist in this case, but a good artist, should talk about reality, because reality means freedom. I believe that there is no aesthetics if it is not linked to ethics. Now we go to, can I tease you, the most famous Turkish artist in the universe? No, come on, Sevda said that, but he's surely, you are an important and good artist. I have not the need to tell something.
Yes? No?
Yes.
Is it? Yeah, no. Yeah?
See, Sevda made a short profile of your career, so we don't need that. We will go through some image of her work. If you can, I hope you can read the text. Is readable?
Yeah, it's good.
Maybe I am in front.
Please take your time to read it, because it was my concept. 2008.
Can you make it bigger?
Yeah.
Ready for us?
Close up. Göremiyorlar. Daha büyütür müsünüz diyor.
Perhaps it's not possible, sorry.
Is it not?
Maybe you can read. Maybe you can read.
Can you read? Can you read in loud voice?
When we feed each other fancy cakes on the slippery satin sofas, or want to taste the ounce breast milk who has freshly delivered, there is something queer to it. Also, in cleaning, in being a slave, there is a big potential for a sports career. We could have been high jumpers instead of mop window cleaners, sprinters instead of shop runners, shot putting is instead of holding our siblings in our arms. There are sports and sports areas you don't know of. The living room holds the possibility of suddenly turning into a hippodrome. The bedroom may unexpectedly become a fighting room.
I believe Nilbar Güreş has a strong attitude to talk about reality, to point to issues in society, sometimes also like in this work with some humorism. So paradox helps us to understand what works not well in our society. Also this photograph work, as you know...
Do you want me to give you some info to the other photograph and also to this one? Because they are coincident works also.
Perfect, you
So,
talk about that.
the one before, Unknown Sports maybe first.
Okay.
Unknown Sports is, the concept was written in 2008, but the photographs were exhibited very first time in the Istanbul Biennale in 2009. You see there, diverse women, they are waxing actually their body hairs. Can you realize it? Recognize? No? Yes. When you look closely, maybe I should show you my catalog after the talk. Yeah. To the text, sports, waxing for the male society. You can continue from there. And the next image, yes, It's called Living Room. This was commissioned by the 6th Berlin Biennale by Katrin Romberg.
Of course, it shows I speak as a viewer.
Yes, please.
I didn't ask you so much about that work, but as you see, is a low bourgeoisie Turkish family in a sitting room. And I remember also in Italy we used it during summer to cover, because it was more dusty season, all the furniture was covered with old linens. And so here even the women are covered, that of course refer to religious coverings, but also they are treated in a part as furnishing of the room, and that is also very strong. Also, I like that. That comes from a series of photographic work, and you know, often we see people bringing on the head, even women, some impossible packages, and this is, of course, even ironic because it's impossible to work with such unbalanced thing.
And Trabzon is a city from the Black Sea,
Yeah.
Turkey, also. Some information. Give the
Okay.
title.
Yes, and that work also speaks by itself. You wonder if these two persons belong to a different religion, or they have an impaired sight, or there is a criticism. It's a work that can be, I told you before, even
It's a
considered-
mosque. It's a mosque,
Sì.
but it's male section. That's important.
Okay.
It's not female section.
This I didn't get. I saw they.
You can recognize it from the beauty of the space,
Of
because
course.
where women pray, it's not so very pretty, right?
Yes, yes. And we show also some video work, which I'm not sure.
This is from New York.
How can I switch on the video? I don't remember. This, the title is I Am a Man, no?
Yes.
Because you can see on the trunk somebody passing by. This has not been done by her. Put a plaque with written I am a man, like I am here, I sign the place. And the artist intervention. Blood. And the tampons. Good. Very witty, very clear.
Really good.
Fun. Poetry.
And a bit longer video, 4 or 5 minutes. Also there is a text.
Can you read this one?
Or again you can read.
No, I should.
So please.
This is my
thanks.
very first talk, by the way. I never do talks. Thanks for the invitation.
Okay.
So, Undressing it's called. As you all know, in the last few years, in the European opinion on Islam and Muslim countries has changed. The reason for my performance was to question and discuss the situation of Muslim women living in Austria who are affected by the racist climate in the public space, who experience discrimination in everyday life, and whose images, for example, prior to elections, are abused. As persons living in Europe, often with foreign nationalities, these women, as well as myself, with or without a headscarf, represent neither Turkey, the Iran or Afghanistan, nor any other country or Islam itself. Even so, they often serve as targets. The majority of Muslim women living in Europe, with or without a headscarf, first and foremost, represent their individual selves and not religious or nationalist ideas.
I switch on the video.
Can I also say something to that before we start with the video?
Yeah.
Yes. When I went to Austria to pass the exam for the Art Academy in Vienna, I was painting for the exam. And there were many professors around me and assistants. And they asked me, first of all, if I am from Mexico or Brazil. I said, well, I am from Istanbul. And they asked me immediately, but where is your headscarf? And they were laughing at me. So I didn't understand these funny behavior. And this was like my very beginning in Vienna to realize the atmosphere and also the racist, I don't know, Viennese welcome. And also I observed many similar things happening in Vienna in the public space in everyday life. That's why I realized this performance, I believe. So many years of observation and also self-experience.
It goes.
Yes.
We better click on it. Thanks.
Yes, please go ahead.
See, as she says, these themes are up to nowadays, a few days before coming to Istanbul. Right.
It's the sound. Ignore.
There are some little words, but you can understand very well the message of the video.
Female names.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So I said that a few days before coming to Istanbul, in the region where I live in Italy, there were news that the mayor of a little town by the sea forbade, I don't know on which law, to Muslim women to go to bath in the sea, all dressed, saying that it was not hygienic, everything is discarded and thrown in the sea. Surely clean dresses are not a harm to public health, but they were harming public opinion in his idea. So this goes on and goes on, unfortunately. It's crazy because I am old enough to remember to go to Mass on Sunday. My family was Catholic. By hand to my grandmother, and she wore a veil in respect for religion, a black veil made of lace, and she looked beautiful. She didn't look, hyper-religious or backwards and so on. So we forgot that. Not to tell that the religious women in Catholic world are veiled, the nuns, and nobody is shocked to see a nun in Italy. Sorry for these banal comments, but...
No, not at all, but just that, that I do not defend religions.
Yeah.
No, we
First
defend
of all, yes,
ideas,
yes,
freedom.
Gülizar yenge. Nigar. Açam. Nuriye.
It's been a long preparation.
Cemile. It was 35 Celsius in the summer.
You are cruel.
So many years. Very old work of mine, by the way. Gülizar. Sisi, Kurdish female name. Hülya. Annem. My mom wears a headscarf while cooking at home. Rabia. Is an Arabic name.
Okay. Thank you, Nilbar. I think you give a real lesson of intellectual freedom and artistic courage. Grazie. And then we will talk, of course. Now I leave the talk to our colleague in this meeting, Socia.
Proceed with her.
That is.
I can receive questions.
Okay, yes.
It's fine.
A short video first.
Bueno, muchas gracias por haber venido esta mañana. I don't know why I speak in Spanish because thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much for coming this morning, and I know it's a very busy day. And thank you for the museum for giving this a beautiful opportunity to talk about the women. The video that you can see is a representation about some parts of our piece of art. Our collection is completely for the woman artists, the female artists. But when I see the video of the artist she presents, and I try thinking and I try understand what is the, and I remember what is the reason about MIA art collection. And it's very simple. The reason of the MIA collection is work for the inequality of the women living in the world, and particularly women for the different works, because the Arabic women have too many problems with all the religion, but Catholic religion, I remember very bad histories about Catholic religion in the past and all the religions, but our society live a big discrimination for the women and the world. And the artists know the difference, because when you see the inequality and the professional things for the professional women, the art is not the difference. When you see the numbers, it's very sad and discover that no more than 5% of the piece of art in the museums of the world is about women artists. Galleries don't represent more than 20% of the women artists in the galleries. Fairs, like this fair, don't have more than 40% of the women's artists in representation. When you see these numbers, of course, you realize and you put in your face the inequality. Why I talk about the numbers? Because the men understand the numbers. Because the women I don't need to explain the women's the inequality, because I live every day. But what is the role of the art of this one? And when I talk about Vittorio and prepare our meetings, have a beautiful conversation, because of course the problem exists, the number exists, the situation is dramatic. It's very dramatic. If you do the question, one normal person, tell me 3 names about the men's artists, probably any people remember Picasso, Monet, Manet, Dali, etc. But if you ask the same person, give me 1 name of the woman artist, probably only remember Frida Kahlo. And you know for what? For this one. And for the life. Because when you do the question for the same person and you say, okay, tell me the name of 1 piece of Frida Kahlo, the people don't have idea. If this thing is no inequality, I don't understand what is inequality. But stay in this beautiful museum, and I see beautiful piece about Barbara Kruger, and I try to understand what is the role of our society about this one in the art, and how important is give the opportunity to the woman artists, and how important is work for create this visibility. Because if the museums, galleries, and I talk about museums and galleries because here present I have a very beautiful friend of mine from Dubai. She has the gallery, she support Leila Heller, support a lot of artists. And I see what a fantastic curator from Iran, support a lot of women artists. Leila Ladon collection women artists and support women artists for too many years. And she is the first Turkish woman go for do exhibition in March in the Louvre Abu Dhabi in Middle East. This is, I think, it's a big goal for all the women. It's a big goal for the representation, not only for Turkish women, for all the women. But this work is not only about your talent, because you are talent. It's about all the people around you, including your gallery, including the people support you, including the curator, including the foundations, including the museums. Only I want to say, need help. The women need help. And if it's not possible to do this alone. For this conversatory, it's a lot of people working this one. It's a friend of mine from Switzerland, a man, but the men understand the women, of course, because these other men don't understand this one. But a lot of people working for this happen. Idil, she is Turkish, and she push and she try help for these things happen today. And the question is a lot of question. How you can help? Buy woman artists, because the woman is more cheaper than men, by the way, and in the careers go more fast. Buy woman artists, believe in the project of the woman, create projects for the woman, create a space. And the museum, of course, is the more beautiful experience when you see this fantastic collection. And when I arrived, I said, wow. Because it's not big museum compared with other museums in Istanbul, but the collection is amazing. And a lot of artists. If you want to do me questions. Please.
Yes, I have 2 questions. But before I make a question, I wanted to ask, because you yourself support a foundation in favor also of indigenous women, so you have different strategies, not only contemporary women artists in a more easy to understand way. Also, you have been in the committee selecting Latin American art by the Guggenheim Museum, so you were influencing in a positive way. All these are very interesting, but all of that require a cultural structure and require also money. If we should think to a non-wealthy woman artist, which strategy of survival you would suggest her, a cheap strategy of survival?
Yeah, it's very complex because it's one ecosystem. The woman's artists live in one ecosystem. And I'm be part of all this project because I'm feminist. That's my first profession. I'm born feminist. And when you're a feminist, of course you understand it's important to stay in too many areas. In my case, when I'm in the Guggenheim in New York, I'm be part of the committee of the acquisition. But I do my work like a feminist. What mean this one? I put and I pressure for the museum by woman artists and put in the collection of the Guggenheim collection. The same I do in the Museo del Barrio. But the word of the woman sometimes is more, I don't know say in English, but like undercover, no? Because live too many inequalities. But my suggestion for the artist, the first suggestion for the woman's artist, for the younger artist, and need to be a good gallery. I think the galleries, of course, too many things I don't like about galleries, but when the artists have a good gallery and good representation, and when have the person really believe in your work, you're not alone. Because the artists need support, and the support sometimes is not only the money. And all the time I listen in my family, is the money is the more easy. It's a very contradiction because the money is something very complicated. But at the end of the day, when you have one project, when you have one idea, when you persist in this one, it's possible the money coming, no? And of course, the principal motive for the artist is not the money. The artist is not interested in the money. The artist need the money for live, for survival. But the important for the artist is the work, is be present in the institution, and the end of the day, the goal for the artist is be in the institution. So for one Barbara Kruger, I think it's a very big goal, be part of the museum. And the other thing I think is very important is the institution support and help the education for the artists. But other type of education, no education about art, education about financial, education about strategic, I don't know, too many small things. The galleries know perfectly. And when you have good gallery, the galleries give the orientation for this one.
I think your answer is pretty original and different than just telling what one could do, but what are the channels.
Yeah.
And now, for instance, channel of distribution with the social media are cheap. Everybody can do home her own promotion. And that is good because if you think to the traditional promotion of an artist, the gallery will do an exhibition. It's an expensive thing to organize. The gallery will send with stamps postcard announcing the exhibition, will call the journalist, send a press release. This cost. The gallery will hopefully print a catalog. This will cost. So I mean, for any unknown artist, and mainly woman unknown artist, this is really like climbing a mountain. But you can do with the social media something. I don't like the social media, but I understand it's a new way, and maybe it's more free.
Yeah, the human have the capacity all the time to put the responsibilities in order, no? And I think so. The first responsibility about the culture and the art is about governments. Okay, governments, education, institutions, private institutions. The problem is the governments I'm from South America, and the governments don't do this work. And the world, and the art world, the private institutions or the galleries need to take this responsibility and work in this responsibility. But the idea is, when the people talk about politically, and this is very interesting because art is politically. This piece of art is politically, all the art is politically, everything is politically. When the people talk about art, we talk about politically. But when the people thinking in politic, me thinking and what is the donation of art the politic do for the art. I don't know if I'm explaining good, but because all the people election his presidents or his government, no, in too many countries. In other countries is position, but in the more countries exists the democracy. And when the people take decision about the politically me thinking, and if this politics really help to the education and art, because art is not one piece of art. Art is education. When you teach art for the child, my collection have one program in South America, and the name is One Day in the Museums. And I put all the poor families don't have the money for the child go visit the museum. And you can see the change the mind of the child when see the art. And it's very interesting because when you teach in the schools or the government put the money in the school for for education, for the people don't have a recourse or money, these people is more sensitive. And when the people is more sensitive, is better sociality, it's not aggressive, it's menos delincuencia, it's like too many things happen. And the art is a very important role for the life. And it's not only about one museum, it's not only exclusive for the people who have the money. I think it's a responsibility for the government. But of course, if the government don't do, exist other institutions and people do.
Yes, thank you for these original ideas, but they come from your real experience. So it's not a theory, and we respect this much more for that. I come back to the money issue. Money is linked to justice and injustice very closely, and so it is unjust that in general women artists, same quality and fame of men artists, have lower values. I mean, they cost less, as you said.
It's 30% approx more cheaper the piece of art for the women to the men, exactly same curriculum.
Yeah, and that is of course unjust, and paradoxically it would help the freedom of women artists if the values will be raised. I mean, because a more expensive artist give a higher percentage in case of sale to the gallery. So the galleries will be more interested in selling women artists if the price were, let me say,
that's a problem. It's
higher.
Ecosystem. It's one ecosystem support this inequality.
Yeah.
And it's important broke this ecosystem.
So I have the second question for Nilbar Güreş, which is, I told you a few days ago. Tell us how you found to have to defend yourself as a woman artist? I mean, not as an artist in general, which we can imagine.
First of all, I became an artist because being an artist is not so taken seriously in my country. Of course, in Turkey. The question is exactly
Difficulties you have found.
difficulties. It is only difficult to me. Honestly, being an artist, I'm not sure if I can say anything positive. Being a woman artist, very honestly.
It was so difficult to approach galleries, curator, museum people.
Yes, for instance, I remember asking some of my galleries, Nilbar, are you considering to have kids? So my galleries asked me if I am considering to have kids, because having kids is a break, obviously, in your career.
In all careers.
Yeah, exactly. But in all careers, but for women, it is completely different because, yeah. I really don't know if I can say anything positive about that, but I think it is important also for curators and institutions how they deal with artists. So I think I can definitely say something about being an artist at the very moment without having a gallery in Turkey. I have one in Austria who is a very good gallery, which is a very good gallery, Martin. But in Turkey, I don't, because also the system here is a bit different. Maybe also, as you said, about the responsibility of the governments in each country, that is also missing here in Turkey. I think this makes a huge difference and a negative influence, actually, because mostly here people don't know how to behave towards artists, especially when you don't have a gallery, for instance. Exactly. So the way is turning into a very capitalistic and neoliberal way. The expectation from me, to welcome all the collectors as they were my kings and queens and whatsoever. This is not my responsibility, just that dear people, I am just an artist. My responsibility is produce art of quality, but I am not going to get my black expensive suit for you to welcome you at my studio. So for instance, let's get some, I don't want to say European or so, because this is wrong, but people should learn how to talk to artists, how to live with them.
Yeah, the life of the artist is, you say something that I listen all the time. I have more than 300 artists in my portfolio, women, and she sent me the WhatsApp. And when you see the life of the artist, it's very, very, very complex, because you don't say the product, you don't have one product, no? You have one idea. Yeah, exactly, and it's very difficult. And when but in my point of view, I try to convince my friends, buy like a product. And my friends present, no, and I say, no, but you need to buy because it's a very good business. Maybe in 2 years you save. Maybe. But exists, I think exists different caminos, I don't say caminos, different roads for try change this one. Of course it's difficult, it's super difficult, but exists institution, exists Mia collection with one award, 1 year for the artist, one scholarship, support the life of the artist, support the life. Yes. You understand exactly what I'm talking
Exactly.
about.
Unfortunately.
Yeah,
I do.
And,
Deeply.
And it's a very complicated, but it's very important support for one very unique reason. The art is the point of view of the history. When you see the art, is the representation of the happening in the history. And all our history in the world, or the majority of the history in the world, is painting or drawing or working for a man. And the new generation see the history about the Iceman.
Yeah.
if exists more women artists, the world can see about the eyes of women. And this is very important. When you see the history of the books, all the books is for men. All the piece of art is for men. If you go to museums like a Louvre in Paris, it's like million of men. But what is the point of view about this time, of this moment, about women? What happened with this woman in this moment? What happened with the life? This information don't exist. And now the new generation have the opportunity for the world see the history about the eyes of the women.
By the way, there is a very good book, a new book, I can recommend you later, about female art history. Yes. Something else I would like to add to the support for artists. I mean, many collectors think when they purchase our works, they support us. It's not true. You just purchase a work, basically. It is not a support, but support is, which is perfectly organized in some European countries, unfortunately, and happily at the same time, for my position in talking, that covering some production costs. It can be a video project or a photographic project. Production is the thing that we can, most of the time, cannot afford. So, and production means you support me, but you are not buying necessarily a work, and I don't owe you anything for your support.
This is one role lost in the society, the philanthropy.
Exactly.
And that's the reason why I use a lot the name of philanthropy. Because the philanthropy people is really help people that don't need nothing interchanged, no? And that exists a lot of in Italy. Italy is one of the mother of the philanthropy. But now the new sociality can be philanthropy. And the small things. I talk with my friends, you be philanthropy. When my friend coordinate one lounge for the people introduce artists, do philanthropy.
But also, you know, as you said, it is history. And it's your personal story.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think this is some more bigger reason for being a philanthropic, I think, because you are, you know, basically considering your own history, if you do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so.
If I can make a personal anecdote as a comment, philanthropy would translate in generosity, no? Doing something because it's good to do, somebody should do. Many years ago, I curated an exhibition in the former Ellis Museum in the other near Canyon. It was the largest group show of contemporary Italian artists until then organized in Turkey. I was very happy. We did a beautiful collaboration and catalog and so on. So I got some sponsors, let me say, which were collectors of the artists I had in the exhibition. So imagine this artist, I call lady so-and-so, which purchased the work and the loan to the Museum Elgitz for exhibition. And so one of them, a famous rich Milanese professional, objected to me. He said, Dr. Urbani, why you ask me money when I loan to international museums my artwork, they pay me 5-star hotels, the flight. I was really ashamed for him. Because he said, you are an old rich man, you can afford to pay your own travel, your own transport and so on. I mean, I really was ashamed. And he asked, he was right, because he was not used to be asked money, and it was very little money, just the transportation of the artwork up and down Turkey. And if I am not wrong, a little contribution for the catalog. Again, I'm sorry to confess, nothing for the artist. The artist could came, sponsored by his collector, to Istanbul to enjoy the opening, whatever. But answering him, when he asked me why I should pay, why I am honestly sponsored by the museum, I said, by generosity. So what I have to explain more. And so the thing went saying, how is your wife, blah, blah, just for courtesy. But I still feel offended by this conversation, because he could have guessed that alone. Anyway, I think we have put on the table so many ideas as the manager of this conversation. I don't know where to go. If not going back to the issues of justice, and also I could suggest a little but important possibility to help women artists, which is to take off the clothes of traditionality and not artistic work from the craft. For centuries, many women were the main workers in weaving, in this country making carpets, in making ceramic, in fabricating domestic tools. So, what we call craft. With modernity, sensibility and culture, craft has been put down like not artistic and not original on the ground, that it was not every piece is unique, but in fact every piece was unique, because every carpet, if maybe by one thread, is different from the other. So if curators, intellectuals, and maybe collectors could have the sensibility to get back to craft, there is a wealth of interesting stuff, even contemporary. I don't mean to have Konya carpet made the same design of the 18th century. Maybe the craft, because it came out of fashion, suffered this difficult dialogue with modernity. No, is when you see embroidery, for instance, in all our grandmother's house, they had a lot of embroidered things, which we were taught to hate, to consider, oh no, all the stuff or whatever, all the women stuff, whatever. But again, you will say I am talking too much about my own anecdote, but I remember once I was a 6-year-old, my grandmother, the one which I wanted to mass with, was putting a glass vase with hortensias from the garden on a table. That would be enough. But she put a piece of cloth embroidered under the vase. I asked, that was the critical point of my aesthetic education. I asked, Grandma, why you put the cloth? So it's not necessary. The vase was crystal and silver, good enough. The hortenses were fresh, good enough. And she said, because of beauty, per bellezza in Italiano. In Italian, the forma per bellezza is one of the key notes in our brains. So, sorry, because this presentation went on its own.
Don't need it.
If you want,
Don't
we
need
can.
it, don't need it. No,
We
no,
don't
no,
need
I
that.
think it's at the time, no?
We also want, there are many professionals or people interested in art and women issues. If any of you wanted to ask my colleagues, we are pleased to hear somebody. Maybe you can come here so we can give you the microphone.
Yeah.
Because there is a registration.
Necessary? I can help.
And please tell us who you are.
Thank you very much. Congratulations for your efforts. I'm Derek Sanatçıların, Iranian artist and curator. I'm here with my good friends and my dear galleries. Well, actually, I just, well, first, in addition to what you said about the crafts and about what we can do, I mean, in addition to that, I believe what we can do is that we need a kind of global movement to correct the most important organization of the history in a meeting women artists, which is the art history itself. The book of art history should be corrected, actually. That's what we need to do, and it's too late for doing that. I mean, we need a global movement because the art history itself, I mean, when you go to the art history, I mean, not the general books of art history, for example, Helen Clark books, Gombrich, the famous ones, the classic references. We cannot see any names of the female artists, which I don't like to use the word female artists as well, actually. Like from, I think since the 80s or maybe the 70s, they began to have Gentileschi in the art history, and then it was, then we are not talking about the contemporary art, definitely, we're talking about the art history. So I think that's what we, the first thing that should be corrected in the whole art history, because when we go to local references, not the general references, we can see that there are so many women artists in the history that we don't know anything about. Maybe the first one we know is Gentileschi, and then the second one is Berth Morrison, for example. Not anyone before. And then for Nilbar, I'm sorry if I'm not...
Nilbar.
Nilbar. Well, one question about her words, and also one comment and question. First is about the Trabzon and the mosque that it was. Not only it was the male section, but also they were not praying facing the altar.
Yes,
That's a question, actually.
yes.
And then
It's a queer work. Yeah,
I'm
it
sorry?
means a queer position
Okay, yes.
and
Yeah.
also a queer work.
Okay, thank you. And the other one was about the undressing, a comment and also a question. I don't know, how did you choose the names? If there was meanings or not in particular. But well,
Women I know or I don't know.
yeah, but once there was Rabia, which is Rabi'a actually. It's just as a comment, it reminded me Rabia Balkhi or Rabia bint Ka'b, who was the 10th century Persian poet. She lived just like 29 years. And she was accused because, well, she was one of the, nowadays she's known as one of the most important figures in Persian poetry. But back to that time, in the 10th century, first because of being a female poet, and then second because of she had a romance relationship with one of the people who were lower than her family degree, the poor in the royal family. She was accused for having affair, and then she was executed by cutting her veins in a hammam. And well, when you said Rabia there, it just reminded me Rabia Balkhi is also known as the first Persian female poet.
Thanks for this information. My father has roots in Iran, in Khorasan.
Rabia is coming from the same.
Oh, okay.
Rabia
Okay.
Balkhi is from Balkh, actually, which used to be
Thank you.
famous.
Thank
you very much.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Would you please any other intervention? Madame?
I just want to make a comment.
The microphone comes to you next.
I just want to make a comment. I mean, as a woman gallerist, I feel very much a loner in the Western society. I opened my gallery 41 years ago in New York, and I always felt like I was a little dot on the map in the art world, as everyone in the West, more or less, I mean, it's slowly changing, but not fast enough. In America, especially, all the museum directors, the important museums, the directors are men. All the big gallerists, there's so many you can name, men. Dubai International Financial Center. And you know, her assistant is also a woman, an Emirati woman, who she told me she's pregnant, she gave her a year off to take care of the child, then come back, your job is waiting. We are very empowered in the Middle East, I feel it's beginning to be. The head of the whole arts initiatives in the UAE is Sheikha Salama Al Nahyan. She sends so many women to America to get study, artists, curators, and directors. They all are women. It's unbelievable. Then you go to Qatar, it's the same. Sheikh Al-Mayasa doing so much, building initiatives for women. The women come first. And so many of the galleries there are all women. And in the UAE too, we are a group of maybe 20-something women who are gallerists in the UAE, much more than the men. Men are 5. So, And you go to Bahrain, the Minister of Culture, Sheikh Hamai, again empowering women in Bahrain. In Kuwait, same. So it's very empowering. I also feel in the past, Turkey, they started the women's library so many years ago. Women, so many initiatives. And now it's really not the government, but it's private initiatives. Private collectors who start the museum, like Sevda and Can Elgiz. They empower women, which is great. It's a change. It happens. It's beginning to happen. And so many women, I came 15 years ago to Turkey. So many amazing empowered women artists. So many, including you. I did a show called Istanbul Cool, majority women again, in New York. That's 14 years ago. And we have a catalog, everything. So I find Turkey really depends on its private initiatives. This is the one country many countries should look at. It's impressive. Every year you come, there's a new foundation, there's new museums, and they do support women. Whether it's Arter, MPs, all of these, and also, the Saha, doing the Biennale, so many women in the Biennale, which is very impressive. So these are the positive sides.
Yeah, of course.
Yes, the governments in Turkey, maybe in Iran don't have it, but women are speaking very loud, and they are being heard. And this is one of the examples, which is very impressive, because we need the voices.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes,
I think and need change the numbers.
absolutely. I find the West has to change. Where it's happening, the West needs to change.
That's right.
There is another intervention.
Thank you both. I've known Alejandra for a while, and I'm feeling bad because it's already two men who have spoken for the question, but I've been converted with the years, and thank you for the work you're doing, Alejandra. And actually, I was very moved by your work, Nilbar. Sorry, I just want to make sure that I pronounce it correctly. With the veil, and also the comment that you made, Vittorio. Little people know that actually the first veil references comes from Christianity, actually, with the letter of St. Paul to the Corinthians, where the only men had access to God and women had to cover in respect of that relationship with men and God. So my question is, do you feel like, because I was also discussing while you were showing the video with my friend here, what is how do you feel about tradition versus religion? Are you fighting also the tradition of having a veil, and or is it for you it's a fight against also the religious aspect around the veil and with women? And also I have a second question for you, which is, as a Turkish artist and activist, if I may, and with your experience in Austria that you mentioned before, do you feel like your work as an activist, feminist, let's say artist, is more in Turkey, or you feel like, as Leila mentioned before, you're a global Western activist in terms of feminism?
I am not Western at all, but my work is present, of course, internationally, and I am not fighting against tradition, but I'm not religious, and all the monotheistic religions, to me they are all the same, and the veil tradition is also a Jewish one. At the same time, women wear wigs, and this is also a kind of veil, instead a scarf, right? So, but thank you, yes, I am a feminist, and my work is definitely political. I didn't show much, by the way, there are only 4 or 5 images, it's nothing. I have so much more, I am not Western, but I exhibit a lot in biennials and museums in Europe especially. And now we are slowly walking towards America, first Canada, so it's happening, but quite slow. yeah, the world is huge and there are so many artists out, so it's not so very easy.
The people can see you work on your website.
Yes, of course. Yes, of course.
Yes,
And now I think I even have a work on view in Istanbul Modern Museum.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah, one collage on fabric.
Yeah.
But I also brought some catalog with me if you like to.
Yes, please.
Yeah. I can
It's
show you
important
some
that
work
people
of
see
mine.
the
Yeah,
art.
sure.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I imagine the conversation can stop here. So again, as we discussed already, the issues are really a great number. Maybe in future we can have some specialized conversations. Thank you for being here for so long, and thank you for my
Thank you.
colleagues
Thank
of
you.
the table. Grazie.
You're
a tutti.
welcome.
Who is our next feminist in the group?